Welcome to the Daily Edge. Steve, Jake, Mark, we are the Noodlebergs. Let's find the edge, starting with our affirmation, which is my effort and impact speak for themselves, but I make sure they are seen, shared, and valued, which talks directly to a topic that's happening right now, Elon Musk, which is he is running rampant with visibility to work right now.
Where are we going to start, I guess, is the question, right?
Well, this is a conversation that started outside of this room, and just making comments on, just the affirmation, makes a difference how you show up.
Here's the biggest problem. As soon as we said Elon Musk, everybody in the audience went, hate him, love him, right?
Correct.
Which if you immediately take that, you now lose all ability to see whether or not he's doing anything valuable. You don't have to like him. The reality is he made Twitter more profitable. You don't have to like him, but what he's doing inside of the government may not be a bad thing. It's possible that what he's doing is really good. It's also possible that it's really bad. So I'm open to both, end outcomes.
How can we have a bad conversation about making people more efficient? I mean,
Right.
This is an important topic because I think there are some people who are lazy.
Well, we're performance coaches, right?
Right.
We're performance coaches. So this falls in line. Him asking for visibility to work, him sending an email saying, if you don't respond, you're going to be fired. Give me your 5 things you were working on last week. That falls in line with us. Does it fall in line with government, I guess is the question.
Well, is it a hard question? Should you be able to answer for yourself or the 5 things you did this week? It's not brain surgery.
Let's back it up a second. Do you think that Musk is a Republican?
I mean, well, technically he is
Yes,
Republican.
Sure. Okay. Do you think that he had the most direct path to power to make changes using the Republican Party?
Absolutely.
Yes.
Absolutely.
That's
Right.
what happened.
So, right. So I'm backing this up and saying that because I don't think it's a political conversation that everybody tries to
No,
make it
it's
really
not at
quickly.
all.
Like, I don't think if you're Democrat or if you're Republican, you should believe that our government was running at its peak efficiency. Right. I think it's pretty written in stone that it was
Too much
not.
government.
So before we even go there, too much government, too little government. The reality is the system was built hundreds of years ago.
Mhm.
The system was built hundreds of years ago, and we've really done nothing to shake the core of that structure since it was created. So the idea that we are operating on an operating system, let's talk in today's terms.
EOS, baby.
We're operating on an operating system that was created 300 years ago. It's ridiculous. So who cares? Like, who cares if it's the Republicans or if it's the Democrats that do it? Why would we not try to be a little bit better or figure out, can we operate better? We've said this in a different show. It's not the best it can be. It's got to change. Would anybody, or would any of you say it's the best it could be right now?
No, and I think all of us look at businesses, different categories, but there is a commonality. We started working with a lot of nonprofits who didn't operate like a business, and the ones that do, boom, all of a sudden they're
Have a lot of
operating
success.
differently with a lot of success. And I'm super proud of the fact that we've brought that mindset to philanthropy. Why shouldn't the government be held to the same standards of business? Elon, Musk is a business guy. Warren paid $23 billion in taxes. And he said, hey, be careful with the money, man.
Right.
You have a responsibility. So I don't understand why there's such flack about Elon Musk saying, I want to know what the hell you're doing.
I think he's doing what entrepreneurs do. Right?
Yeah.
He takes action and he takes ownership of problems that exist. Right. So let's start there. Like, in order to be an entrepreneur, and that doesn't mean you necessarily own your own company. And we talk about it, to an extent that it's about taking responsibility.
Yep.
And it's about taking ownership of the problems and making it your responsibility. And that's what he's doing. And I don't know that anybody would have done it if not for him. Right. And he has shown the track record to be successful in taking action. Look at Twitter. You already talked about it. Look at Starlink, which now the government runs on that Wi-Fi. He is basically NASA now with SpaceX. So there are a lot of examples of him taking action when nobody else would, and he basically has shown every step of the way that it is more successful.
So let's just take a step back for a second then and go back to a fundamental question that I think has to be answered, which is government a business? Because Elon is a business owner, very successful business owner, and he's stepping in trying to run the government like a business. Is the government a business is a question.
You want to go first?
Yes, it is a business.
Absolutely it is.
And I think it's the same conversation we had with nonprofits. Yes, you're a business. You're handling money. You may not be looking for a profit, but you're looking for results.
1,000%. And for nonprofits, you're still managing a P&L, and
Right.
you still have to make money in order to stay in business and keep your, but the government is different, sort of, because you don't really go out of business unless they overthrow you, I suppose, and the entire government
Well, we've had,
or they break the system.
It's just-
But I think we're at a really unique time in history where the government, I think, just ran as a business prior to there being like really large amounts of entrepreneurs in the world, and before there was all of these different ways to run business. And now you're looking at a system that was built hundreds of years ago, and you have somebody who is a successful entrepreneur in the modern era coming in trying to run it that way. And there are some things that we need to talk about, like conflict of interest.
Okay, that's I didn't expect you to go there, but there is a conflict of interest, especially knowing that some of the people who are getting fired are people that were against Elon Musk's businesses.
Right.
So, but if you took over a football team,
Yep.
right, what's the first thing you would do? Wouldn't you look at the roster and say who's performing, who's not performing?
You could go back to
back it up even to what Mark was saying. The country was built on entrepreneurs and business owners running the country. Like if you look at our founding fathers, they were all business owners and entrepreneurs in their right, and then they got the right to make choices based on everyone else. Now, I think people got away with that not by the fact that billionaires and entrepreneurs weren't forming policy or shifting policy. I think they did it behind the scenes. And now everybody is forward.
That's really well said.
The thing you have to really pay attention to is the fact that capitalism was not thriving when the system was built. Capitalism started to thrive after the system was built.
Revolution.
And capitalism sort of defies government, because government is essentially supposed to look out for the most best interest, right? It's not about money. It's not about profit. It's about taking care of the people. The reason the government was formed because they didn't want to be taxed without representation.
Oh.
We don't want you taking our
So
money.
You did pay attention at school.
Well, I think this is where we get so hung up, and like people who are even watching the show, the thumbnail is going to be about getting your attention on a political headline so that you'll watch, so that you'll listen. But that can't be the point. The point has to be to serve the principle, which, what is the principle of government? What is the principle of business? The principle of business is to make money. Is the principle of government to make money?
There's a trend happening. You have Microsoft making a decision that says low performance, not meeting the standard, out. No severance, no healthcare benefits. You stole money from us, theoretically, right? Meta did the same exact thing. So there's a pushback against, and I heard this, like on one of the news shows that said, well, can't they be more empathetic about it? And I'm like, I don't think empathy has anything to do with this.
Well,
I'm like, it's enough.
I think it's hard, though, because
like,
you said the goal of business is to make money, right?
Right.
Another goal of business is to serve your constituents, right?
Well, yeah, because you can't make money without serving the customers, essentially, unless you have a monopoly or whatever.
And I think that this makes it interesting because technically your customers are also the people working for you in this situation, right? They fall into the Venn diagram, right? The circles, like,
hence the issues
that we're talking about. And you talk about conflict of interest. He is getting richer doing what he's doing.
Right.
You cannot say that. Now, are we also going to benefit on the side? We hope so. right? That we hope that they are acting at the best interest of us. And when you deal with a billionaire who has consistently put his motives above other people for so long, I think the question has to be asked, what are his motives?
Right.
Is he really doing it for the good of the American people?
Thank
for
you.
the people that are hold on, let me
okay,
finish. Let me
okay.
finish, right? Like that has to be asked because he's not taking jobs away and giving it to somebody else. He's taking on a large portion of the government contracts. The factual statement.
This is such that question that you're asking and the way you're presenting that information is so good because it really forces you then to break it in to different parts.
He just gave you a compliment.
The reality is that government has been operating inefficiently for a very long time. If you try to get anything done through a government service, go sit at the DMV, right? Like go try to get some problem handled at the post office. Like anything that is government run has historically run inefficiently. So he's taking jobs away. Maybe those jobs shouldn't exist.
So wait a minute. The money that is being spent to deliver those jobs, they're already talking about giving it back to the people. Wow. That to me is the most novel,
hold on
beautiful.
A second. Hold on. The government that's in debt, the number
Yeah.
that they are giving. Hold on.
They said they would give a portion, and it's just a theory.
Yeah.
They would give a portion back to the people and a portion to pay it down. $5,000 a person. Do you know what $5,000 means to a lot of people?
Okay, so let's just play the political game for a second then. Do you know how mad the Republicans got at the Democrats for creating that policy during COVID of giving money to people to support the economy? And now they're justifying that very same act by saying,
they're moving money.
Yeah.
They're not creating money.
Same.
So it's not the same.
But they're
moving the money. They're eliminating something and saying, we're eliminating this, and what we get from this, we're going to move over to here. That's very different than saying we're just going to give money and add to the debt. And so I don't want it to be political, because my takeaway when I read the article was, what's the problem with asking any employee, what did you do the last 5 days? Let's bring it to sales.
I like that.
I've always been very focused on sales and this business development stuff. You know, is it offensive for me to ask somebody that works with me, for me, hey, what'd you do the last 5 days? Because if you can't answer that, we have a fundamental breakdown.
1,000%.
And you know what? I think that there's people who are mailing it in every day.
If you
of course there are. Particularly in government. There are 1,000%.
If you separate the emotion from the action, right? If your problem with the practice that Elon is doing is the fact that he's actually asking, there's probably something wrong with you.
Sure.
Okay, good. So we agree on that.
Yeah, you
right?
1,000%.
If you are the person that got that email and went, well, I haven't done shit for 5 days,
or
and
5 years.
Why are you asking me? Who are you? That's a problem. But then you have the other side of the government that is working, that is doing their job, has never reported to Elon. Elon probably has no clue what they actually do. And you get this email out of the blue and you go, what the F, right? What if I was in an organization and they hired a consultant, right? And you worked with the CEO and the first thing you did was come to a top performer and was like, I want to see exactly what you're doing. You have no idea what we do here.
Yep.
You haven't even taken the time to try to learn. Right. And so you're trying to have this one message fits all thing, which would insult a lot of people who are doing work. If nothing is absolute, right? You can't say nobody in the government is working.
So this is where I think if you really want to grow as an individual, you have to understand your own bias so that you're able to separate the what from the how and the why. Because if you don't recognize your own bias, you look at Elon and go, I don't like Elon, or I do like Elon. And then everything that you think and feel follows after that. I can go, I don't necessarily like Elon, but what he's doing is probably a really good thing for us. How he's doing it, don't necessarily agree with anyway.
I couldn't disagree with you more.
Okay.
I couldn't disagree
Tell
with
me
you
how.
more. Because I get into companies, I don't know their business, But as a consultant, which a lot of people ask me to do that, I go to the top performer and I say, what's working and what's not. I ask the bottom feeder, what's working and what's
different than one of the last 5 things you did this week.
Okay.
And if you don't respond, you're going to be fired.
That's insinuating you haven't done shit,
Right.
in my opinion.
Correct.
That is,
It might be a bit aggressive.
Yeah. All right, we won.
You didn't win. You didn't win, man. What he's doing is he's developing a dialogue, man, like with people who are underperformers. How many times can we repeat on this show? Mediocre people don't like high achievers. And high achievers don't like. So nobody likes Elon Musk because he wants to make a difference. And so you're going to see people push back.
Does he?
Right.
Does he?
We're just assuming that. We're just assuming that.
We're
assuming that
he's
look, and
proven
I'm gonna shout out Scott Galloway, right? And I don't have $1 billion. If you thought I did, I'm sorry. But I don't know.
Very bummed out.
I don't know what it's like to be a billionaire, right? To have more money, to fund any program, to start any business, to live anywhere, to have any boat, plane, XYZ, right? I don't know. What has he done to really help world hunger, diseases, all of the inequality that exists, right? That's my problem, where you don't need more money. You don't. You are the richest man in the world. You have more money. Your kids have more money. You can fund whatever you want, right? You are still in the I'm taking from me stage. And that's where I have a problem with it.
I can see that.
Where I go, why? Why are you doing it ultimately to get your companies to a higher revenue, to whatever it might be, right? And not going, no, I'm doing this because this needs to be right for the country.
Yep.
Like and that might be
I love it.
And that might be what he actually feels, though. And I know he's not a warm, fuzzy feeling guy. Like he is a little bit on the,
he's got some weird social
perspective. Let me give you some perspective. I think that's what drives these insane entrepreneurs. These people who are so driven by more and doing. LeBron's not doing it for the money. LeBron's doing it because he wants to do it. He's making a ton of money, but he is achieving lots. So when you look at high achievers,
Elon have a school?
Right.
Does Elon have a school?
Right. Like you're bringing up LeBron. LeBron built a school.
Okay.
Right. LeBron has done things publicly. Right.
But most of what LeBron does is motivated by LeBron
and his
LeBron
performance.
Sure. Right. Elon's doing the same thing. And so Microsoft was built by Steve Jobs. It was all about Steve Jobs.
Apple, yeah.
I mean, Apple. The idea that he lost everything else in his life because he was so driven to do those things. I thank God for people like that who are just not willing to take their foot off the gas to do.
Sure, but
there's plenty of people that want to do more humane stuff. He happens not to be one of them, So I don't take issue with that because I do think he's driving technology, and
none of us take issue on creating visibility to work.
Correct.
None of us take issue on holding people accountable to doing what they were supposed to do. I think how you do it matters, and I don't necessarily agree with the way Elon is doing it. And that I think is important.
If there was going to be a conversation, I think you're right. I think that could have been analyzed. Would you want to do it on Twitter?
Right. So that's and so this is the dynamic of the world
Twitter
we live in today.
So it is self-serving.
The thing is like, if you want to win, you have to play the game. You can't win without playing the game.
Herm Edwards?
Part of the game is social media. Part of the game is communicating, is marketing. It's the biggest part of the game.
Galvanizing a group of people.
It's marketing. That's all marketing is figuring out how to move a bunch of people to do something. Marketing and sales. So he's marketing, and what he's marketing and how he's marketing it, you either like it or don't like it. If you can't separate your feeling about it from what actually is happening, you're actually not, you're no use to anybody.
No help, right?
Right. You're no help.
Right.
You're no help at all.
Right. The fact that we're talking about it, right? If he had sent an internal memo that nobody on the outside saw, we're not talking about it.
Correct.
But we're talking about it, and it's bringing up a basic dialogue about performance.
Right.
the standard is the standard, man. Is there a minimum standard to work for the government?
So
and if you're not meeting that, goodbye.
Here's another point to this specific topic. What he tweeted would happen is not actually what happened.
That's exactly
right. He said, I need to know the 5 things you worked on. And if you don't respond, you're going to be fired on X is where he said that. But then the email that actually went out was, hey, don't send anything that breaks any of these rules, and didn't say anything about a resignation or a termination if you don't respond. So marketing versus
so he fueled
deliverable.
The fire.
Yeah, there you go.
Well, doesn't that
playing
make,
the game.
well, doesn't that
playing
make,
the game.
Playing the game.
Well, isn't that the company in this instant is the government to do the job of setting the expectation of how it's going to be? It feels like it's the
1000%.
Wild West, right?
Yes.
And it feels like people are getting pulled in 2 different directions, and that's not fair to workers, right? You're having this Democratic Republican pull on the other side, which obviously politics are involved and ideals are involved and stuff like that. And so you have these people that are caught in the middle. And is it Trump's job to set the expectation? Does he not have the power? Does Elon not have the power? And there needs to be a clear understanding of the structure in order for structure to change.
And that's fair.
And I actually think they have done a pretty good job of saying, this is what we're going to do. And we're doing it. So like, which has been rare, to be candid, across decades of government.
And
so
he's done it in 100 days.
I think the edge for today is there's nothing wrong with creating accountability in any setting. How you go about doing that, though, could work against you or for you in doing that. So I think the nuance of it is equally as important as the accountability itself.
I love that edge. And I think you can take that edge to every conversation you have. It's based on the tone. If you say it wrong, your content might be right.
Well,
your ask
bingo.
But I think the best part, probably what he's trying to do, is it weeds out the bottom percentage pretty freaking quickly.
Yeah,
pretty quickly. Like, he knows they're not going to get rid of the essential people who are doing work, have access. Like, you can't get rid of everybody. It's not going to happen. And so by doing this, it immediately lowers the 1%,
And it's more than likely that the people who were the most up in arms about it were the people that need to go. So like, they're the ones that have something to hide and are not doing anything and are trying to. So thank you for finding your edge with us today. Remember to watch, listen, subscribe, share the episode with somebody. We'll see you next time.